Welcome back to STL Live. I'm Sarah Thompson, and I'm joined by Ginger Imster of Arch Grants. And we've been talking in the first segment really about Arch Grants, what it's about. I should have asked you, and I'm going to ask you now, how did this come together? Who actually founded Arch Grants?
There are four co-founders, Zach Boyers, Jerry Schlichter, Joe Schlafly, and Bob Guller. And the four gentlemen came together when they realized that none of them really had children that were post-secondary school here. So they were not finding that their children wanted to stay in St. Louis. So what could they actively do to really reframe how their children and their children's friends thought about working in St. Louis? And that live, work, play environment, what were we doing to create an environment that would be just as attractive to their children as were these other communities around the country? And they were also looking at it from that higher ed perspective. You know, St. Louis is a college town, and what are we doing to retain a lot of the talent that we graduate every year? And they were also looking at it from the jobs perspective. You know, what are we doing to cultivate businesses and industries that excite those that are working today, but also creating the jobs that we don't even know are going to exist yet, right? That conversation that we have with K through 12 educators all the time. We're preparing a workforce for jobs we don't yet know exist yet. And so what are we doing in St. Louis to create those jobs of the future?
I think I had read that before Arch Grants was started, you know, St. Louis at the time was ranking as like one of the lowest cities for attracting entrepreneurs. Is that still here we are, you know, 5, 6, 7 years later from that?
It's not. It's not to suggest that we have reached a tipping point, right?
Sure.
What I think the national press has recognized is that there's enough activity happening in St. Louis quickly enough that would generate the buzz that we're one of the top emerging, if not the most emerging city in terms of startup. And the potential is there, right? But that potential is really to say to those of us working in the community and those who are, you know, potential funders or existing funders, put your foot on the gas. This is not when you get, you know, sort of, oh, we've achieved a certain level of success and this is enough. It's actually not enough. In fact, we need more of everything. And to that end, put your foot on the gas, and we all have to be very deliberate about continuing to do the best work so that we can continue to be competitive.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good point, being deliberate about what you do. Let's talk about diversity and inclusion, which is a founding principle. Is that correct?
It is, very much so. So when the co-founders got together, they were really looking at what would improve the status of St. Louis, and authentically so. And they really looked at population density and diversity as a cornerstone of that. So when they looked at the downtown corridor in particular, but then you look at the pockets of activity that we have in St. Louis, what are we doing to really connect communities to one another, and what are we doing to improve that population density and diversity in the urban core? And so Arch Grants was seen as a catalyst to really assist with that, because we do recruit globally, and we're very deliberate about the fact that we do not want this competition to look like so many other competitions, which are largely white and male. And I'm married to a wonderful Caucasian man, and I've birthed several. But you know, the world is not going to be full of white men in the next future. So what are we doing to really create an environment that's authentically inclusive of women, minority, and immigrants? And it's so exciting to see that in our portfolio of active companies, 71 of the 76 are still active. And in those 71 companies, 75% of them are either led or co-led by a woman, a minority, or an immigrant. And that's so unusual when you look at competitions like ours.
And when you talk about diversity and inclusion, are you saying being led? Are you saying the CEO is a person of color or a woman? Or are you talking about even within their workforce of these companies?
Yes. When I talk about it, it's like C-suite. So the key leadership, those making the decisions, those running the company, those making the hiring decisions, you know, those in real leadership positions, that's what we're talking about. And so it's a very high percentage of our companies that reflect the inclusion principle that's a foundational principle for Arch Grants.
That's great. Well, before we wrap things up, I want to talk about, you've got some events coming up, one in fact tomorrow, and then 2 important dates in the year that we should point out. But tell me about this pep rally that's happening tomorrow.
Thank you for the plug, because this is intended to be a public-facing organization. We are a public-private partnership, and so the extent to which the public wants to partner with us to celebrate the talent, we love to have them. So tomorrow is for the love of St. Louis. It's a pep rally of sorts at the Majorette, which is in Maplewood. It's actually on the border between the city and the county. And then June 22nd and November 11th, we will celebrate the cohort, the 2016 cohort. We have 2 separate announcements, and we hope to celebrate our 100th grant this year if we're successful in this, our 5th anniversary year, in getting the funding for 24 Arch Grants. So we'd love to have the public join us tomorrow, June 22nd or November 11th.
That's fantastic. Some good stuff, and more information on your website, correct?
Always.
Yes. Well, we've got the information there for you on the screen. It's Arch Grants, and you can go to archgrants.org. Easy to remember, easy enough, and it's got the information information about the pep rally taking place tomorrow, as well as those dates, June 22nd and November 11th that Ginger mentioned. And people should stay active, probably follow everything that you guys are doing. And social media as well.
Social media is great, Twitter, and
Yeah.
then our website has a lot of announcements. And for folks who want to get more engaged, there are lots of opportunities to do that too. Go to our website, and you'll see multiple invitations to get engaged.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back after this.